Hello and welcome to the Wad Fam Chalk Pod. I'm Andrew Acebo.
And I'm Dylan Weaver.
And we're here today to talk about episode 396 of Adventures in Odyssey, Poor Loser.
He's the loser, and he's poor.
Financially challenged and victory challenged.
Yeah, well, he's a college student. They're all poor, right?
True.
Even at a community college.
Yeah, and postgraduates are also still poor.
Yeah, that's true. I guess he's post-grad at a community college.
That makes so much sense, doesn't it?
I feel like we've probably questioned this before.
Oh, definitely.
Don't need to relitigate it, but
don't look at it too closely.
But yeah.
Like stains on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
This episode originally aired March 21st of 1998 and is written by Marshall Younger.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you know who directed it?
It doesn't say on the wiki. Is it directed by Marshall Younger?
No, it is not. It does actually say on the wiki. You just have to click the crew tab over to the left or the right. I mean, because I know my directions.
Yeah.
But
Phil Waller.
There you go. If it's the same person who wrote and directed it, it will always say in that paragraph text at the top, written and directed by. Mm-hmm. But if it has a different writer and director, it won't mention the director.
Interesting.
If it has multiple writers, both writers will get mentioned.
Bias, it would seem.
Well, I mean, it's a show that is probably more written than it is directed.
That's fair. That is definitely fair. And this does not feel like a Phil Waller episode to me.
No,
So.
it's good.
Yeah. Got him. Oh. So, well, since I'm driving the ship today, let us look into the cast and context for this episode.
Oh, okay. Who do we have, Andrew?
Nobody knew. I mean, actually, that's not true.
Not true. So we haven't. Now I'm fighting with you for the.
Go for
we're like doing the thing where like I grabbed the steering wheel.
Yeah. No, you missed that turn.
Yeah.
No, but the GPS wasn't calculated.
The thing I was going to say is, Heather and Julie are both characters we haven't talked about previously. They're also, Heather is voiced by Krista Mascari, and Julie is voiced by Tracy Bassett. Neither of those, they both basically just play these two characters in like 5 episodes or so.
Nice.
I'm assuming they are actual kids. Like we're in that era of the show where it's like, we have kids doing kids. Mm-hmm. And it just seems like these were the kids du jour for like 2 days, or for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then they, didn't really do anything outside of Adventures in Odyssey and haven't done much since, but I hope they have nice lives.
Yeah, me too. You know, when you start out with that kind of fame and stardom, you always wonder where it's headed.
Yeah, exactly. Did you catch who voiced the volleyball coach?
I did not. Krista, it's not. Oh, really? It's voiced by Will Ryan.
Oh, it is very much voiced by Will Ryan, sir.
That makes sense.
It is like a breath away from a Harlow at a couple points.
Yeah, okay. Now that
I was listening to it and I was going, that's my boy Will.
Yeah, well, like you said, we have like a really stout cast because we've got Bernard and Connie and Mr. Whitaker and Eugene. So all those wonderful people and voice actors are really, really doing the most this episode.
Yeah, they are wonderful people. I agree.
I've met them all personally. They're on my Christmas card list.
Oh, that's nice.
I know. Oh, crap. One less this year because of Will. It's 26.
That was also last year.
Was it before Christmas last year? I guess, yeah. Okay, yeah, that's a bad question to ask. Was it in the 7 days post-Christmas? Oh, before the beginning of this year.
I believe it was in spring of 22.
So this is the episode where Andrew's ability to lead the podcast is exposed for its inadequacy, and he has to grapple with losing to Dylan's prowess.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Are you're a pretty good loser though?
One of the things I wanted to talk about. I would say, yeah. I'm very competitive. I don't like losing, but like I'm okay with it because it's just a part of the thing, and I've done a lot of losing in my life, so you get practice with it for sure.
This is the thing I'm interested. You're competitive. leave the field, like if you're like is it stuff that you like think about once it's done?
What do you mean?
Like, oh, I should have done this better.
Yeah. For everything, even if it's
Gotcha.
not
Okay.
competitive.
Yep.
And it's just.
Well, I mean, I do that a lot as well, but not in competition.
Yeah, no. Well, and I would say that it's like the reason that I do that outside of competition is because of training for competition and trying to improve in that respect.
Interesting. Okay. It's just deep insecurity for me.
Oh,
but,
well, there you go. I mean, same, but
but like because the thing I was thinking about is the fact that like I don't know. I've been trying to. I get into arguments with people over whether I am or I'm not competitive.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that you're competitive.
So this is there's a few things we can land on. I am not competitive in that my goal is to have fun while doing the thing and be with other people. One, I don't do anything like sporting, but I play a lot of like board games and card games and stuff. And it's like if everyone is like engaged, putting in effort, and like is actually like following like the way you play the game, I will have a great time regardless of how like
for sure
of how I am doing. I will get like if I'm really down, like losing a bunch in a row or whatever, like that is something that I will like bring up. I love having like player rivalries with people and being like annoyed when someone else does a thing or whatever, like that kind of like like in jest, you know, half flirt of just like, hey,
you're just ribbing each other basically.
Exactly. I'm into all that stuff, and so I think I can come across maybe slightly on the more competitive side, but the difference is when I leave the game, I never think about it again.
Yeah, no.
If I play a game one night and the next day you ask me who won, I will likely not know.
I mean, same, but for different reasons.
Like, it does not, like, that is not anything that I dwell on or care about.
I think that it depends. So, like, board games or something like that, it's a lot easier for me to be a part of the whole game itself, as far as enjoyment is concerned. But like when it comes to playing team sports and stuff like that, oftentimes you're with a bunch of people that you're not super close to, and so that's when it gets more about the competition and less about doing the activity with people that you like.
Right. And that's probably why sports don't interest me.
Yeah, there you are.
Because I would rather just do a thing with people I like
than win, which makes sense. And I would say that
like probably, I love like a game of like, you know, picnic volleyball.
Yeah, sure. Exactly.
I'm not good, but the agreement is, hey, if I step in here and play, none of you are going to be upset when I whiff.
Yeah, exactly.
And if somehow that like trust gets broken, this is no longer going to be fun for either of us and I will exit.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it is. We're just hanging out, doing a thing together. I'm very into that.
Well, and so, like, in that hypothetical situation, say you were to do really well, you would feel good, and then you would be like, oh, man, that was so much fun. I had a great time. Me, if I did really well, I'd be like, okay, so where do I join, like, the nearest rec volleyball league? Like how can I do this more?
Oh, no. Yeah, no, not a chance on my part.
Like, oh, wow, I didn't realize I had these skills. Let me compete further.
That's wild.
It is. It really is. But, I don't know. As somebody that's, you know, cresting into young adulthood, it is very interesting to see how playing team sports and everything growing up really changed the kind of person that I am and how I function on teams and, like, a workplace environment, or how I do with, you know, delegation of labor and responsibility within relationships. It is very interesting to me. And because I think that everybody thinks like I do because so many people have sports backgrounds, but that's not the case, actually. Most people don't.
Yeah, I don't know if I would say most people don't, but most people probably don't to the extent that you do.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
To the
I
extent
think most people have played sports in some
yeah.
manner, but whether or not they have cared
Exactly.
about those and made it part of their identity
Yeah.
is a different thing.
They haven't shaped their personal philosophy around their ability to play sports and how they function in teams.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Well, we should get into the episode, I guess, right after we rolled the promo.
No one likes to lose, especially Heather and Eugene. On the next Adventures in Odyssey, Heather's volleyball team just can't seem to win, and Eugene gets trounced at chess by none other than Bernard. But what lessons can they learn from losing? It's about attitude adjustment and learning to accept defeat gracefully. Coming up on the next Adventures in Odyssey.
That was good sporting music.
Yeah, it was very sporty. It's got some kind of like jock rock bounce to it.
There you go.
My favorite term. Thank you, Dylan.
I forget where I first came across jock rock as a term, but I do love it.
Yeah.
And nothing makes me more happy than texting Andrew and being like, I'm at a football game and they're playing Seven Nation Army, so it's jock rock.
Exactly. If there's just driving drums and guitar to a very steady beat that kind of sounds like a war march, that's jock rock.
Yeah. I am a person who, for reasons that we don't need to get into, enjoys attending high school football despite being very well outside the demographic of that.
I don't think that's a bad thing. Like, I feel like that's such a
I also don't think it's a bad thing, otherwise I wouldn't do it.
no, but I don't think that there's anything.
I'm just saying, like, there's
about.
I'm not saying I'm ashamed.
Okay.
I'm just qualifying that on paper, it doesn't make sense as a thing that I do.
Fair,
But it is a thing I do and I enjoy.
that is
With that
true.
qualification out of the way, one of my favorite things is the recent phenomena of the new song that I feel like has gotten inserted into the marching band like catalog over the past few years.
Is it "Bad Guy" by Billie Eilish?
No.
Okay.
It's Bad Romance by Lady Gaga.
Wow, it's kind of close.
We have apparently like crested the point at which that is just now a marching band standard,
Yeah, it's classic, I
and
guess.
I'm here for it. It's great every time they play it. The other one, September by Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Okay, well, that makes sense because of when high school football is played. That makes a lot more sense.
But I love that those two were
Yeah.
like not present during like my childhood or my time in school, but in like my time like post school attending high school football, they
got
are
Bad Romance.
every game those get played at least once per band. Like they're in the zeitgeist now.
Love to see it.
I mean, both of them every time they come on, I'm like, it's a good song.
It's a great song. And marching band covers are kind of awesome, in my opinion. Like, I love the
half the fun of going to a high school football game is the marching band.
Yeah, that's fair. I really
Makes
respect
third quarter
that take,
so
yeah.
depressing.
Depends on which team you're watching.
Well, third quarter is when the marching band takes off during third quarter.
Oh, is that a thing?
Yep.
I haven't been to enough high school football games.
In every high school game I have attended, I don't know if this thing transcends like our local area, but I
Yeah.
assume this is pretty normal. Because they're high school students, you want to give them some time off.
Marching band nerds, write in and check.
And rather than having halftime, because they perform during halftime.
Yeah,
So
they get third
they
quarter.
get third quarter.
It's like barbers having off on Mondays.
Yep, for sure. But it does create this weird thing where it's like for the third quarter, there's just no
Nothing.
marching band on either side, and it is a little bit like, all right.
Now what?
Also, a good tactical marching band, nothing better.
Yeah. What, like moving around on the field and stuff? like that?
No. In playing from the grandstands during like key moments, like blaring
yeah,
and
okay.
like throwing people off and whatever. Just
Yeah,
like
that is
I have seen field goals missed purely because of the marching band.
God bless them. You know, that's the power of music, people.
There you go. Anyways,
It would get me, honestly, as somebody that's played sports and listened to music while doing so, it is there's moments where it hypes you up, and then there's moments where it pushes you over the edge, and you just lose all of your kind of grounded comfort, I guess. So. Yeah, boy. Anyway, this episode begins with is it with Eugene walking in?
It's with Connie dropping a coin.
Yes, into the register, and Bernard looking puzzled.
Yeah. It is a slow week at Wits End. There have been no kids around. Bernard's like, you finally got them to stop putting their hands on the windows. She's like, there've been no there's been no hands on the windows because there have been no hands in the building. Like,
very sad, and not a WE moment either. Where are all the kids?
Yeah. It's not. They're not somewhere else doing because Wits End is bad or because they're all going over to Blackguard's Castle.
Yeah,
it's just It's
just
a lull.
It's a lull.
And
Maybe this is like during a minor economic recession, and maybe Whit had to raise his fictional prices for ice cream or something like that. Lord knows.
Yeah, or maybe
people were doing other things.
Yeah. Work ebbs and flows.
Definitely.
Especially when you're in the I feel like small business shop especially has that sort of feel, or it's like if you're big enough, there's just always people around. But some of those I've worked at farm markets where it's all right, we just have all week, and we kind of get the regulars, but maybe we're between stuff being in season, or it's a time where people are busy with other stuff, or just
it could be the week before 4th of July or something like that, where it's either people are on vacation or people haven't come here for vacation yet.
Yeah. All sorts of stuff will just create weird artificial breaks in the season. And they're in one of those right now for no discernible reason. And so to solve this problem, Eugene arrives, chessboard in tow, to try and entertain himself. He's looking for Jason, but Jason is out of town.
Man, playing chess against Jason must be miserable. I don't know, I can't imagine he knows a ton of, chess theory and stuff, but I just imagine that his spy knowledge makes him really good at guessing what other people are gonna do.
Yeah. Do you think... So you think Jason beats Eugene at chess?
Well, okay, yes. I would say that because Eugene doesn't seem to have, a really extensive knowledge of chess theory at this point in time, at least in the beginning. So, yeah, no. I do think that Jason...
But Eugene takes it okay because it's Jason, and Jason seems like he'd be good at chess.
Yes, exactly.
So the problem here is not just losing in general; it's specifically losing to Bernard.
Certainly. I mean, as somebody that's played a lot of sports, it feels a lot worse to lose to somebody that you perceive as worse than you.
Wow. All right.
I'm looking at you, Lebanon. We never lost to Lebanon. But we did beat them 9-0, and one time they did score on us once, and it felt real yucky.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That is the sport of soccer, folks. So 9-0 is absurd.
It is quite a few goals. Oh, great game to be a goalie, I'll tell you that much. So much fun.
You could do it even with the pots if every game was like that.
Yeah, exactly. No, honestly. And you know what? If people just would stop shooting the ball on the ground, I could probably still be a decent goalie. It's just the going down and then getting back up that's the problem. If I was just jumping to the upper corners, it'd probably be fine.
Okay. You heard it here first.
Yep, we just got to get rid of the lower third of all soccer goals everywhere.
Yeah. We just put a ramp on the grass coming up to the goal.
I'm just imagining it's just on the other side of the PK line, I think the PK spot, and it's a skee ball ramp that goes right up into the corner. Oh, lovely. Yeah.
It's the reverse. You know how foosball is sloped in the corners?
Yes, perfect.
It's that, but but right at the goal.
Oh, man. Well, so back to goalie stuff. We used to do this drill where we would just throw every single cone that we could in front of the goal, and then you'd kick the ball as hard as you could to try and get it to take a deflection and do reaction saves and stuff like that. I think that would work. We just need like some sort of obstruction that will cause it to go into the air.
Yeah.
It doesn't even need to be sloped.
Yeah. There you go.
Dylan, I do want to know, how much chess have you played in your life?
So, as
somebody who admittedly loves board games.
Chess has never been like a huge passion of mine. I was not ever particularly good at it. I went through a bit of a phase where it's like I felt like the right thing to do given my build is to be a chess guy. So I got a chessboard.
Okay.
But the thing is, I hate studying. I hate memorization. I don't enjoy theory.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I was never going to be a real chess player because the only thing I enjoy is actually playing the game.
Yeah.
And then the only way I learn is by screwing up playing the game.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
the same reason that have never solved a Rubik's Cube.
Oh,
because there is nothing interesting to me about
learning a formula and then just doing the formula.
Correct.
Yeah.
No part of that appeals. And so I was I definitely played chess, but for me, chess was I loved playing checkers growing up.
Yeah.
And chess was a nice graduation as long as I was only playing chess against people who also didn't really play chess.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that kept it fun and interesting for both of us. Mm-hmm. As soon as you hit the point where it's every move is being truly thought through from every angle, and there's a specific sequence people are doing and they're implementing strategies and they're trying to that stuff just started not appealing.
Yeah.
So I feel I kind of peaked late elementary, early middle in my chess playing, and then towards the end of high school I had some friends who liked to play chess, and so I would go and play them during school or whatever. We'd go down during homeroom to the teacher who had the chessboards and and play, and I was never I always did poorly.
But you had fun because you were doing it with people.
But yeah, I was just but I was this is totally fine. And then I had a friend who got really into chess. And and so we would just, but I guess, never to a point where it lost that fun. But we had a class where we would finish a week's worth of work in a day.
Yeah.
And then we would spend the rest of the week working on homework from other classes and just playing chess.
Nice.
And we
best teacher ever.
played it on an iPad, and then at one point actually just wound up keeping a chessboard in the room. Nice. So I played a lot of chess for a while there.
But you never were you were just doing it to pass the time. You were
Correct.
never oh, I love chess.
Yep. No, it was never
the game that was available.
I played chess over a phone call once.
Nice. That's
where
not
we
fun.
decided to do the whole hey, we each have a chessboard, and we're gonna call letters back and forth because we were in high school and we were bored, and that was an experience.
Was it fun? Was the gimmick worth it for you? Did you get any kind of special enjoyment out of doing it that way?
I mean, there was maybe a little bit to the gimmick, but not enough for me to want to repeat that experience. And then more recently. This has been too long on Dylan playing chess, but
never, no such thing.
Last summer there was a
chess summer interest group.
Yeah, there was a chess club through church, and I went to a couple of those and just hung around for a little bit, played chess with people. Once again, it was just this is a fun way to socialize. And
it was run by somebody you knew, right?
Yeah. Run by a good friend. And I probably enjoy watching people play chess more than I enjoy playing it myself, which was an interesting realization. But I enjoy it enough. And and I love the Queen's Gambit.
Yeah, amen. That's what got me into playing chess. No shame. Actually, a little shame. No.
Give me your chess story, Andrew.
Well, so my chess story is quite long, only in the sense that
I just took 10 minutes, so you're fine.
No, it goes what I'm saying is that mine goes back pretty much my entire life as yeah, I'm pretty sure as soon as I was old enough to learn how to play chess, like I knew how to play. Not necessarily well or anything, but I knew what the pieces did and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because my dad loves chess, and for as long as I've been alive, he's been doing online chess leagues, he'll do like one turn at a time games and stuff like that, and then he'll do he did phone tournaments, he did a mail tournament, which is really fun because then you're keeping postcard correspondence with people from all across the country and playing a game really slowly, but it was cool to kind of see all the letters and stuff he was getting for that.
Sure.
So there was a lot of draw for me to get into it because he was so good at it. And he got into it because his grandfather was like really good at chess or something like that. And I think his grandmother also was really good at chess. Because I ended up inheriting one of his grandmother's chess books from like 1938, I want to say, or something like that. Like it's old. But yeah, so I started playing really young, and it was just a casual thing, and it very much like what you said, it was because like my dad played it. Of course I wanted to play it with him, and he would beat me every time, but it didn't matter because I wanted to play the game with him, and that was fun. And then eventually, the older I got, the more I started trying to understand the game, but I didn't really care about chess theory because I didn't understand how complicated it was until I watched the Queen's Gambit, and then I was like, oh wow, this is like there's so much that goes into this, and all the math and the the visualization of movement after movement after movement is I just found that very interesting. I am terrible at it. I thought like, oh wow, that's so cool, let me try that. Can't do it.
And we missed an opportunity to record this episode while playing a game of chess.
That would have been so much fun. Oh, that's for the bonus show that we don't have anymore.
The feed still exists. We could drop something.
Yeah, it's true. Oh, stay tuned. We'll do like a double cast where we're making the Wad Fam Chalk Pod at the same time as playing a game of chess.
The Wad Fam Chalk Sod?
Chalk Sod, my bad. This is what happens when I host. So anyway, back to the episode. Well, actually, yeah. So I got into Queen's Gambit. That made me get into it. And so in high school, during the pandemic, I got like pretty into chess theory, and I started doing the whole like reading books about it, watching videos about it, trying to learn more of like the fundamentals, the tactics, and some of the jargon that everybody uses. And what I will say is that I totally agree that watching smart people play chess is so much more fun than playing chess yourself. Only because you know that they're considering everything, and you kind of get to like watch their brain unfold in real time, as opposed to watching your own brain unfold in real time and seeing it be bad.
Absolutely.
There you go. That was not quite 10 minutes, but it was close.
Yeah. Nice.
That being said, so Eugene and Bernard play a game of chess because Jason cannot be found.
Right. Right. And after like a lot of back and forth.
Yeah.
Where Eugene's like, Connie's like, before you even say anything, like, I will not play chess with you.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bernard goes, all right, Eugene, you know
talked
what,
me
I'll
into
play.
it.
And Eugene's like, you're not, what, like, what?
You know how to play chess?
Yeah. And
Bernard takes offense to this and
explains that he's like chess champion at his family. That's, just his brother and a 104-year-old aunt.
Yep.
But she was the Parcheesi champion for 45 years.
Which is very impressive. Oh. Have you ever played Parcheesi?
Oh, yeah.
I've never.
Have you played Trouble?
Yes.
Have you played Sorry?
Yes.
Have you... Yeah, they're all the same game.
Oh, okay. You just got to make it around and then back in the thing?
Yep.
Cool.
Trouble, Sorry, Parcheesi, Marbles, Ludo are all different games that I've played that are the same game.
Marbles? How is that the same?
Not like not like the flicking marbles.
Oh.
Like a
Is it a different kind of game? It's like an actual board game.
It's It is a board with little divots in it, and you move the marbles around the table.
Oh,
and
wow.
You roll 2 dice, and they go into you try to get them from the home to the finish line, and you send people. It's the same game.
It's really just
They're
sorry.
all the same game.
Okay. Wow.
So you haven't actually played Parcheesi, but you've played,
I'm familiar with
you've played Parcheesi.
with the vein. Yeah.
Also, it's a good game.
Yeah.
I feel like it doesn't get enough credit for being solid.
I think that it falls with the bridge thing of like, oh, only old people play this game because it's not like there's no like gambling upside to it. I'm sure that there are some old people that bet on Parcheesi, but it's certainly not anybody that I know. So anyway, yeah, Bernard, Eugene is surprised that Bernard knows how to play chess, and Bernard is ribbing on Eugene, being like, oh yeah, where are the dice? And Eugene's freaking out like, oh my god. And yeah, Bernard's just trying to pull one over on him. And it's funny. I don't know. The reason I picked this episode, and it's very clear, is just I love Bernard and Eugene's dynamic, and especially with everything with sports and competition, it's fun to see something that's personal to me being comedically emphasized in this way. So
yeah. Interesting. I assumed you picked this episode for the volleyball plot, Andrew.
That's exactly it. I picked it for the middle school volleyball plot because that's really what gets me excited. Oh boy. Oh boy. No, I mean, well, I will say that the volleyball thing was probably much more applicable to me as a kid than the chess thing because I played team sports. So
Sure. Yeah.
That was
the
definitely...
volleyball plot is totally fine. It's just it's not what I come to this episode caring for.
No, certainly not. I completely forgot that it was a B plot of it until I re-listened to the episode.
There was some stuff where I didn't quite remember. I didn't quite realize the degree to which I was going to know this episode. Well, one of these things is when Bernard's playing Eugene, he calls checkmate, and Eugene's shocked and that whole thing. That is in the Eugene Returns, like that montage. And so I know it very well for that, but I actually knew this episode quite well. And yeah, we jump over to the after Bernard beats Eugene the first time, and Eugene is aghast.
Yeah. What?
Then we jump over to the volleyball game.
Yes.
And Heather is really frustrated with the fact that her volleyball team just keeps losing terribly. They haven't won a game all season.
It's spanked.
Just, yep.
Not what they say, like 3 points in 2 matches, that's real bad for volleyball.
Yeah, correct.
Not that I've watched a ton, but I've watched enough to know that I think they played a 25 and they're three matches each, right?
And that sounds about right.
Yeah. So that's tough. But yeah, and so yeah, Heather is obviously frustrated, and she's doing the classic thing of like, well, I'm the best player on the team. You guys need to work harder so that you can, be as good as me and we can win.
Yep.
Which I've never met anybody like that, nor acted like that myself in my life, not once.
Good to know.
Yeah, it's wonderful when I can look at these things and realize I'm entirely above reproach. Oh man, no, but it is definitely something that I actually really related to. Honestly, in my experience, I was more of the teammates that failed, that was letting the really good person down, and so that definitely hit home more so for me. I'm trying to forget how that scene ends.
Well, because we leave there and Heather drops by Wit's End,
yeah,
and she's dejected, and she's and they're asking, hey, what's going on? She's like, I was hoping there'd be someone here. Apparently there isn't, so I'm just gonna keep moving.
Yeah,
but we lost badly today, and this is where Wit encourages her and is like, because she explains like that all of the she was the only 7th grader who started last year.
Yeah.
All the 8th graders moved up to high school, so she is now the only person on the team with any experience, and it's just going really poorly. And it's like, well, this is an opportunity for you to, teach your student, help out your fellow classmates, and be a leader in that way. And she's like,
This is incredible advice. Like, this is really good sports coaching advice from Whit, in a way that I was very surprised.
nice.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it's interesting that you're like, great advice. I was just like, yeah, duh.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, it is great.
Like,
it is,
but,
duh.
Yeah, but also, right, I'm not putting myself in the head of a middle schooler playing football or playing volleyball.
Yeah, and the frustration of being like, oh my gosh, like, why are other people not holding up their end of the bargain?
A frustration I would never have because I was always the person not holding up the end of the bargain.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. So with my experience with sports, I definitely had both ends of the spectrum because I didn't originally start out playing sports at a super high level. I really had to work my way up because I really wanted it. There were times where I was the best player on the team, and then once I graduated to that higher level, then there was a lot of time where I was the worst player on the team.
Gotcha.
And so, you have this attitude of, like, you get frustrated because there's so many things that you care about that seem basic, like duh, and other people just don't think to, they don't care about it, they don't see it as valuable, and whether it's how you act on the field or like fundamental mechanics of the game, like one of the things I remember was it was really hard when I was playing rec soccer, which is like the low level anybody can play. Like nobody knew how to receive a throw in. When they would throw the ball in from the sideline, everybody would just like basically kick it back out of bounds. And so I was like, well, we all need to work on this so we don't just kick it out of bounds. And nobody cared. Like we did it for 7 minutes or something like that. And then we just scrimmaged or whatever. Like nobody was actually intent about improving their skills. And then once I graduated and moved up, then it was like, oh my gosh, I'm the person that can't trap a throw in. Like, I'm so much worse than all these other players.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Sports.
So many sports. And that's why I picked this episode, obviously.
And so Heather grabs Julie and they go to work on her serve.
Mm-hmm. That's like 9 o'clock.
Yeah. Julie's like, I am done with this. Mm-hmm. And Heather's like, but come on, like we got to keep going. Yeah. She's like, because I guess the thing we didn't talk about earlier is there's this exchange right post the game.
Oh yes.
Where Heather is pissed off about how poorly they went, and everyone else is like, just calm down.
It's
like,
a game.
Yeah, like this was fun. Mm-hmm. Like we had a good time. We'll keep doing better. Like, and she's just not having it. Mm-hmm. And so there's like a good moment here. Where Julie kind of says to Heather, she's like, look, I'm going in. All you care about is winning. You're not aware of like the fact that nobody likes you anymore.
Yeah.
Which is just like some brutal honesty that is like very like needed and well directed.
Oh, certainly. And like, I don't know if that's the best writing, but it is like, like you said, it's very needed and well directed. And Heather seems to not really receive that well.
No, I don't think it sinks in at all. Mm-hmm.
Well, because to her, she's doing what Whit said, which is like, I'm helping you to get as good as me so that we can win. Right. How could I need to change to be more like you so that we can win? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we jump back to Eugene knocking on Bernard's door
at 7 a.m.
Yep. And he's like, we gotta play again. And Bernard's like, look, I can't. Like, I have a job to do. And he's like, what about tonight? He's like, I have plans. What about after those plans? No, Eugene. And Eugene's like, well, what about your lunch break? He's like, I'll be here. And Eugene's like, great, I'll come.
No, bring sandwiches.
Yep. And so he brings a tuna sandwich with pickles and extra mayo.
Yeah.
I was thinking about at the start of this episode how fun it must be to be the person who cuts together the opening like teaser clips.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Because this one has like the iconic, with pickles, with pickles.
With pickles. Yeah. No, I mean the teasers are always super funny, and this era of the show I think is on another level.
Bernard just sets everyone up well for great teasers.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, that's true.
Because he's got
random.
so many one-liners that just like land well.
Mm-hmm. Well, and his whole thing is that he's kind of absurd. So
Yeah, for sure.
It plays really well.
And so they meet over lunch,
Mm-hmm.
and
Bernard beats him again mid-conversation.
in 15 minutes.
Yep.
He's like talking about the bread.
Yeah.
From, you got to get bread from this place, not that place, because that bread's stale. This place is a good pumpernickel. Checkmate. Also, the rye is great.
Yeah, but that place uses too much molasses. And then Eugene's like, wait, what? Checkmate?
Yeah.
And Eugene has a little mental breakdown and demands that they play again because it only took him 15 minutes.
Yep.
Which, boy, Eugene needs some work if he's losing in 15 minutes.
Yeah. Then Eugene is just falling apart.
Yeah, well, so we kind of glossed over the fact that Eugene gets there in the morning and Bernard's like, you look awful. And Eugene's like, I didn't sleep.
Yes. And this will only become more so because
Yes.
then Eugene is back at his dorm or his apartment or wherever he's living at this point, and he is called in sick to work. And so Connie and Whit show up and are like, hey, Eugene, like, we brought soup, like, we wanted to check in on you. And he's like, no, I'm fine. And
I imagine he's got like 5 o'clock shadow and is in a bathroom.
This man is like, he is burning down.
Yeah.
Like, it is, And there's two just absolute delightful moments here. Well, one, there's a video, Eugene, he's played Bernard like 3 more times off screen and taped them.
Yes.
And he's watching it back and he's talking about like, look, Bishop to Rook 3. I seriously think he made that move just to form the letter M with his pieces.
Yeah. Oh, and then we got another "Oh My Darling Clementine" bit where
It's true. Yeah, she's like, because Connie asks if Bernard knows she was filming.
Yeah, and he's like, yes, of course he is, as evidenced by him leaning into the camera and singing "Oh My Darling Clementine."
Yep, and Connie comments on like wishing she was wearing a different outfit in the video, which is
it's funny.
Is Connie, but Eugene when he is like just like having this breakdown has some really iconic lines. He has there are times where I'm convinced that this is a game that he doesn't know the rules for. Connie's like, you just ended your sentence with a preposition. And then he says a line that I have used in my life as a joke for years.
Really? So
which is prepositions are not words that I end sentences with.
Yeah, that is a really great joke. I did not know that was.
Yeah, that I have trafficked on that line for so long.
I love that for you. I did not understand. Wow, I was not expecting you to have so much personal connection to this episode about sports.
Look, man, I also didn't know
How much?
What was going to happen here. I didn't remember a lot of this episode, but as I was listening, I was like, oh, this is all coming back. And for sure, that is a joke I have used when talking about prepositions because it works.
No, it's hilarious.
And then we also have, he's just like in his absolute spiral. The today Bernard Walton beats me at chess. Tomorrow the earth will revolve around the sun.
But Eugene, the earth does revolve around the sun.
Yeah, that's the Connie and Whit wind up like knocking Eugene over and carrying him upstairs.
Like, you need to go to bed now.
Yep. Oh man,
it is funny. It's a great moment. Yeah, I don't know. And so then we jump to the next volleyball game.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We're back at volleyball and
lovely B plot.
Yep, and Heather's just going for every ball.
Yep.
She's like, the only chance they have to win is for me to hit everything. And one of I think it's Julia, it might be someone else, calls her out on it and is like, Coach, did you see that? He was like, I did. You're out of here, Heather.
Yeah, you need to spend some time on the bench.
Yep. She's like, no, you can't do that. I'm
the
your best player.
player.
He's like, last time when I woke up this morning, I was the coach.
Yeah. Which is hilarious, and also something that I have heard coaches say before.
Sure. And then she quits the team.
Yeah. She's like, all right, well, I quit. This team isn't good enough for me anyway. Huff, walks out.
Yep. But when she walks out, Whit comes down and finds her.
Yeah.
To be the exposition man.
We love some exposition. We love sports fan Whit. Like, what? He's breaking down the tactics of the volleyball game, talking about Heather, going for every ball that's remotely close to her, some of which that aren't actually close to her.
Yeah.
And, Heather's like, well, it's the only way that we can win, and yada, yada. And as they're doing this, you hear in the background that the team is like, there's like cheering and stuff, and success is starting to happen without her on the court.
Yeah. And
that's the term, right? It's a volleyball court?
Yeah.
It's not a field.
It's a pitch.
It's a pitch. Oh, we love the volleyball turf.
And so he's talking to her about like being more understanding with her teammates, like
because winning isn't everything.
Correct, and they need to learn from their mistakes and that whole idea. Which is
so big. Like, I feel like for me as an adult, I cannot stress enough how important sports was for me as far as learning from my mistakes and being like one, it's a double-edged sword. One, it made me feel much worse about making mistakes because there were direct consequences. But two, it also showed me that like I was able to learn so much more from my mistakes than I was my successes. And like the way that you make improvements is not by winning, it's by losing and getting better.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a whole adventure here, and it just so the team has won, and they're talking with Heather, and Heather's like, man, like it must have been like, I really was the problem.
Yeah.
And the girls extremely graciously are like, no, like you, like all of the work that you did with us is what's making us better. Like we need you need us.
Yeah.
And they all go back to Wits End for a post-game party.
Yeah. And it's so sweet because she does the thing of, like, not betraying the fact that she was a bad teammate, but also saying that, like, she did help in some ways. And, like, that's such a thing. And you see it in all kinds of sports where, like, somebody that you would consider as the best player isn't there. And because that there's a known understanding, everybody feels the need to elevate their game to compensate. And so you get a better team performance overall than you would have.
Yeah.
It's terrible for sports betting, but it is really fun for the narrative.
And the narrative is far more what I care about.
Exactly.
Here is the thing. I will always... Not always, but basically always, like my goal in watching sports as someone who doesn't follow any teams or any sports closely, but like enjoys watching a game.
Yeah.
Like the majority of the enjoyment for me comes from the game being close.
Yes, 100%.
To the point where I will root against the team that I like have a more inclination towards because they are currently like in the lead, and I'm just sitting here and I'm like, yeah, of course I'm rooting for the team that's down points.
Yeah, exactly.
And then when it switches, I'll root for the other team who's down points. Like whoever's from behind, that's who's got my attention at any moment. Who cares about a blowout?
Yeah. Well, and I would be remiss to not talk about my affection for Detroit sports franchises as it relates to my relationship with losing.
Okay.
Only because, like, everybody around me growing up, liked good sports teams and everything like that. They had so much to be proud of. And my football team was the Lions, and my basketball team was the Pistons, and my hockey team was the Red Wings. And the Red Wings are fine, but they haven't been good since, like, the 80s. They won a championship in 2008, but they fell off a cliff right after that. And so there hasn't been a lot of, like, pride that I get to take in victory in sports like that. So you learn to I would say that, like, you learn to appreciate the sport more comprehensively when winning isn't as readily available.
There you go.
That's one of the things, like, at least something at my headcanon, because there's a lot of, like, Detroit Lions fans that are in sports media, and my thought is that, like, their team was never good enough for them to enjoy it, so they just liked the sport in general.
Yeah. Yeah. But this year you got to bang your team, right, Andrew? You're going all the way.
Drank all the Kool-Aid. I shot it into my veins. I'm ready to run naked in the streets screaming the Lions fight song, which I think exists.
Yeah, Andrew has talked my ear about the Lions, despite me telling him multiple times through that conversation, Andrew, I don't care.
It doesn't happen ever. It's like a white.
I know. I love that you're happy. Also, let it be stated that you do pick. You have picked college teams to follow that do very well.
True. Well, but Michigan didn't do well for most of my life. It was only recently that they started succeeding. They were like middle of the pack Big Ten for a long time.
It breaks my brain that you're like a Michigan fan, but are also wearing an Ohio State shirt right now.
Well, that's fair. My grandfather went to Ohio State and he died. This is his sweater.
All right, Andrew, way to make me feel bad.
Yeah, well, it definitely makes sense then.
I know. I'm just giving you a hard time. Anyway.
It feels yucky to me, too. Just so you know. There's never a point in time where I put on an Ohio State shirt and I'm like, be a shame if I just switched to a Michigan one.
It's a nice shirt, you know?
Yeah. Anyway.
But as someone who grew up around Penn State, I also couldn't wear it.
Yeah, well. I honestly, Penn State fans are much better than Ohio State fans as far as the culty nature of their fandom is concerned, in my opinion.
Sure.
Entirely aside the point.
So we jump back to its end for the final scene here. And Bernard arrives to play another game with Connie or with Eugene, and Connie like calls him over and is like. She's like trying to get him to come get a glass of water. She's like, I just really need to talk to him. And eventually he's just like, all right. Apparently Connie's got a crush on me. Got to go over there.
And see what she wants.
A great toss off Bernard line. It's very humorous.
Yeah.
And
Connie's like, so, you know, you're watching this man unravel. Like, would you mind letting him win or something like that? Yep. And, Bernard is like, oh, yeah, well, you know, whatever. I mean, I'm just having a good time, just playing a game.
Yep.
And they go, and I think we cut to, like, games going pretty well. Eugene put Bernard in check.
Like, back-to-back moves, Eugene puts Bernard in check.
Mm-hmm.
And then the volleyball team arrives, and they're having fun, and they're talking and whatever, and they're talking about like a spike that another player did or something like that. And they're like, here, let's like act it out or whatever. Yeah. And the ball gets thrown up and it smashes right down in the middle of the chess game, as of course it was going to.
Yep. Eugene has an aneurysm.
Yep.
Such a great Will Ryan performance of just the last neurons in Eugene's brain being snapped in half. Yeah, no, it's funny, and he's freaking out. They try to reassemble the game, and Eugene realizes that he didn't take proper notation, and he can't, and this is when Bernard's like, oh, it's fine, you know, you're gonna win anyway, and Eugene's like, well, I'm not sure. Wait a minute, you said that I was gonna win?
Yeah, and Bernard fully concedes the game to him.
Yep.
And so Eugene leaves jubilant,
mm-hmm.
and then Bernard and Connie have a bit of a conversation where it's like, you threw the game, and he's like,
Would I?
You think that the amount of enjoyment I get out of beating Eugene that I'd just like give it up? And so it's a nice like ambiguous, like, who knows, maybe Bernard would have come back, maybe not, but regardless, Eugene gets the feeling of victory without actually beating Bernard.
I mean, mostly, you know, chess is one of those games that there's not a lot of shame in resigning early if you know the situation well enough to know that there's not a really good way out of it.
Yeah, of course.
So, yeah. And that's, and Heather buys a double scoop for her teammate that,
for
made
Julie.
the game-winning spike, which is so fun.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Yeah.
And that's the episode.
That's the episode. It's fun.
It is real fun. I enjoyed it. I was actually kind of worried because my last Andrew's Choice was not good. And while I did like this episode, I was afraid that we wouldn't have a lot to talk about because it's stuff that I'm mostly interested in. And no, it seemed like we were able to have
It's good comedy. I also have history with sports and
board games.
Yeah, and chess matters.
Yeah, chess does matter. It's a great game. Definitely, yeah. I think that team sports are really important, and playing games are like really important for childhood development because it puts you in play situations where you're dealing with real world feelings and challenges that you might not face otherwise. If you've got a pretty normal childhood, or I won't say normal, but if you've got a pretty unproblematic childhood, you might not have to experience a lot of personal setback and reevaluation and understanding your role within a larger ecosystem. But you play a sport, then you're forced into these environments where you have to think differently and do different things. So yeah, I don't know, but maybe it's just because I was homeschooled and I didn't go to public school to have all those opportunities to learn the lessons like that. That I found so many of those lessons in sports, but I do think that you can find them regardless. Dylan, do you have any closing thoughts for this episode?
I don't have closing thoughts, Andrew.
Yeah, I feel like I've said pretty much everything.
I agree.
Bye. Do you have anything to plug this week, Dylan?
There it is. I was waiting for that. I do.
Lovely.
So I was thinking, the thing that I was thinking about most listening to this episode is the movie Molly's Game, which is about it's an Aaron Sorkin movie from a handful of years ago. Jessica Chastain stars as the titular Molly, and it's about an underground poker ring, and there is a big moment in the movie in which this great player loses out to a just absolute joke of a player who doesn't know what he's doing, and it just sets the great player on tilt.
Yeah.
And he just loses his entire life.
That's fair.
In a night.
Really?
Over this.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
That's crazy.
It is wild.
Huh.
But anyways, so I was thinking about that while watching this because
full tilt,
that's not really what Bernard is doing, because Bernard is actually a good player, but that is Eugene's perception of the situation.
Yes, certainly. And Eugene's reaction to the situation, certainly.
Yeah. So I would, I'd recommend the movie Molly's Game. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
And it's one I've seen quite a few times at this point.
Nice. I am going to plug playing sports. Play sports outside. Do it. If you've got kids or young people in your life, encourage them to get involved in it. If the sports aren't their thing, that's obviously fine. But like I said, I think team activities for kids are really valuable for social development and personal development. And I also think that the U.S. has kind of quarantined sports off to being only for people that are good at them and really exceptionally talented with them, in the way that I would say in Europe there's a lot more casual sports playing. It's not uncommon for just a bunch of random strangers to be at the same soccer pitch on a Wednesday night and they play a little pickup game or something like that, just because they're all people there that like soccer. I'm gonna plug that. There's a website called Meetup that is really good for finding local amateur gatherings of sports and stuff.
Oh, cool.
You can also use it to find what did I use it to find? I saw one of the things I found on Meetup was a free thought society and stuff like that. There's all different types of groups that you can find there, and you obviously sort by location. But if you are interested in looking to, meet up with people in a casual sense, I feel like that's a pretty good way to find out what's going on in your area.
Nice. That's a good tip.
There you go.
All right. With all that being said,
what are we covering next week, Dylan?
Oh boy, we have a doozy. We have a Dylan and Andrew's Choice, which I think is also just known as an episode of the show.
I think so.
But we're talking about episode 467, broken window.
Bye, guys.
Bye.